Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Louis de Souza on this Monday, September the 2nd, 2019. It is 8 a.m. New York time. That is 5 a.m. Los Angeles time and 1 p.m. in London, where Astrid Kauffmann, the Jin Shin Jyutsu expert, she didn't like to call herself that, but we call her that, who joined us last November, is back by popular demand to talk more about Jin Shin Jyutsu and to tell us all these wonderful things for us. So thank you, Astrid, for joining us once again here on the program.
Well, thank you for having me again, Walt. I really enjoyed our session last time, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to talk about today.
Which we're going to find out, because I have no idea what it'll be. I just know it'll be about Jin Shin Jyutsu, you know.
There's so many different things we can talk about.
Well, that's true. That's true.
None of us have any idea, but I just wanted to welcome all the listeners and
absolutely.
Enjoy this. We're going to be talking about healing and health, and specifically Jin Shin Jyutsu and how that can help you. So briefly, Jin Shin Jyutsu is an harmonizing art where you use your hands as jumper cables to help balance the energies in the body, bring you happiness and health and balance, emotions, physically, etc. So, yeah, we'll maybe talk about some stories that happened to me recently, and we'll pass it over to Astrid. Is there anything, Astrid, that has happened recently to you with Jin Shin Jyutsu that you may wish to talk about?
Oh, so many things. I just wanted to go back briefly, Louis, because some people might wonder, well, jumper cables, how does that work? You know, how do you
well, it's a great analogy.
And that's
you need to buy a car first.
Well, jumper cables. Mary called them jumper cables. In this country, in the UK, we call them jump leads. So how does that work? So basically, when the battery of a car is dead, what you do is you get another car whose battery is going full on, and you get these jumper cables, and you put part of one side on the battery that's running, and the other side on the battery that's dead. And then what happens is that the jumper cables are the bridge to get that dead battery going again. And that's exactly what we do with our hands. So let's say we've got an area of the body that is complaining or tense or needs to be released, needs to be opened up and harmonized. Then we go to that area with one hand, and with the other hand we go to another area that is open. So what is happening is that when we combine those two, then our hands are like jumper cables. So from one area that needs help to another area that is helping. So then the energy starts moving, and that's how our hands become jumper cables. Does that make sense?
Well, we want to make it clear. We're not actually raising people from the dead like a dead battery, right?
No, absolutely not. But what happens is that when we start working on the body, we can feel the energy starting to move like a river. So if we talk about energy pathways, which are like these long rivers, that connect from head to toe, toe to head, we've got 144,000 of these rivers. They can be big rivers, little rivers, medium-sized rivers. They have different looks and feeling to them. Then along the rivers, we get dams. We get things that happen in the river. So there might be too much water. There might be too little water. It might be dammed up. So we need to open up that dam. So that's the same thing in the body. We can feel that. We can feel that if, let's say we've got a pain in the knee and something's dammed up there. So we want to clear that. And so we can put one hand on the knee and another hand on another part of the body to get things moving, to then clear the dam. Okay? And that's what we do then, is that we're using our hands as jumper cables.
I think the astonishing thing with this whole Jin Shin Jyutsu process is, from the stories you've told, from the stories that Louis has told, it's something that actually produces fairly quick results. I mean, we're not talking about lying in a hospital bed for 6 months waiting to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the body is very intelligent, and when it is helped in the right way, it can really start recovering and repairing itself. And when you clear those dams, things can change very quickly. And especially in an acute situation where there's something that's all of a sudden it's got dammed up, you clear that dam quickly, and then it's nearly like a miracle. So when there's something that's happening over a long period of time, like something chronic, it might take a bit more time to clear that. But things can happen very quickly, yes.
I presume that there are certain, I don't know if it's situations, I'm not sure what the best way to express this is, but with any of these processes that we could kind of generally qualify as alternative processes to traditional medicine, there are success stories and there are people who say, well, no, it's not working for me. And I imagine that there are certain characteristics that those failure stories have in common. Can you talk about those for a bit?
Okay. Well, when you say failure,
meaning they didn't get the result they wanted quickly.
Yes. We are human beings. We're very impatient. We want,
aren't we?
and that's understandable. Sure. When you are in pain, you want it gone fast,
Absolutely.
And I'm the same way.
Yeah.
That is a human. I mean, pain colors your life, so you want it gone fast.
Right.
And Jin Shin Jyutsu is not alternative to anything. It is complementary to, and it integrates with traditional medicine. It works really well with traditional medicine, and traditional medicine has its place. Mm-hmm. If your leg is broken, then you go and get it fixed, and then you use Jin Shin Jyutsu to help it heal more quickly, or to help the sort of how can I say it, place that you were in that got your leg broken in the first place, because there are subtleties there that need to be sort of moved on. So working with yes, there are certain cases where things don't seem to move, in a small instance, a small amount of my clients over the years, things just don't seem to move. Now, you could say, well, if you didn't do Jin Shin Jyutsu, if you didn't come and see me, or if you didn't do your self-help, things might be a lot worse. Mm-hmm. So sure. there is that. It's always a shame that we don't have two of the same people so that we can do a test, like one with and one without Jin Shin Jyutsu or whatever. So
there's never a pair of identical twins around to do twin testing whenever you want to have it, right?
yeah, exactly. But I think sometimes the failure is to give up too quickly on it, and because we want this very quick fix. Mm-hmm. And any modality, whether it's healing, or whether it's Jin Shin Jyutsu, or whether it's anything, it requires peeling the onions. If something has been going on for a very long time, you need to peel back the layers. If you go straight to the issue, if something has been building up over years, your body would just probably collapse. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to kind of work your way back, and the body will let you know what it's ready to do, sort of thing. So, yes, I mean, you can interpret what failure is, and it's open to much interpretation. But in most cases, there is a sense of something is changing, either very slowly or very quickly. But it's the consistency, and it's the going and doing it for the long run. I mean, this is something that we have available to us. We don't have to create anything to work with ourselves. So that's really important. This is something that you can do right now. And it's just a question of understanding what it is you can do to help yourself.
So Astrid, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So Astrid, you were talking about, we were talking about problems that are quite strong that people can't get over quickly or easily, or don't know why they're not getting over them. So from an LOA perspective, you're looking at a thought that they've thought a lot about. and it's a very active vibration. And you're also saying that, you can't go from focusedly negative to focusedly positive, or you go from the problem straight to the solution. You need to go, generally negative, generally positive, focusedly positive. So, it fits in very beautifully with the law of attraction and exactly how that process works versus how Jin Shin works.
Absolutely. And you put it beautifully, Louis. I mean, that is exactly what it is. To get from here to there is very difficult if you're stuck in that, in the same kind of negative thought. It's just impossible, really. And so you take baby steps, and then you take a bigger step, and you just feel more and more comfortable until you get to that point where your thought is a different thought. And, and it's true. It's the same kind of process.
When your thought is focused very much on what you want, it's like you've pushed that ball up the mountain, and now it's rolling flat, and then slowly it just goes down. And
yes.
It's got its own momentum going. So,
yes, it's the momentum. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I suppose, when you start thinking, when you start feeling a little bit better, to think a different thought, oh, that feels a bit better. It's the same thing with Jin Shin Jyutsu. You practice on yourself, and something suddenly changes, and you think, okay, that actually, I feel a little bit better. So then you have the encouragement to continue, and, and it gets better and better, and just better and better. And all of a sudden you're not in pain anymore. And, that's really cool.
And I love it when things are getting better, you're getting what Abraham Hicks would say, the two characteristics, which is relief and release. And that's very prevalent in Jin Shin Jyutsu, those two things you really feel.
Relief and release, yes. And the interesting thing is that when someone is has been in pain for a very long time, to the point where you can't even imagine what it feels like to be in that kind of pain, because you don't feel that kind of pain. But when someone's been in that kind of pain, it is to all of a sudden get a modicum of relief is actually quite it's a show-stopping event, really, that they actually stop, and they have to feel their body, and they say, actually that feels a little bit better after 1 hour lying on the couch. Actually, and it's like they can't believe it, so
yeah.
It's that as well, it's kind of that change that has to happen as well.
So, Astrid, I don't know if I told you, but I had that pretty much exact experience recently. So I had a pain. So not my big toe, the toe next to it, there's the first bone, and there's the second bone, and where the second bone joins the third bone in there was extreme pain, so much so that if I stood in it, I was almost crying. And I went to the doctor, and I had it x-rayed, and they came back and they looked at it, and every single thing was absolutely perfect. There was no swelling. The doctor wouldn't have believed that anything was wrong with me if I just brought my foot in and looked at it. But and they were touching all around my toe. But when I got to that exact point, which I told them it was, I was jumping out of this chair in so much pain, and they was like, "Whoa, okay, now I believe you."
Yeah, right.
And when they asked after the X-ray if they could feel around it again, I said, no, thanks. No, thanks.
Let's keep poking the sore spot over and over again.
How strong do you want?
Get off me!
Painkillers. I said, I want it. They were like, looking at me. And then, I went home, and I had a chat to you, Astrid. I said, what flows should I do? And I did a couple of those, but mostly I did my own flows because, I'm not new to Jin Shin Jyutsu by any stretch of the imagination. I had an intuition feeling that I had a bit of a urinary tract infection, which is weird. So I know that cranberry is good for it. And I went in, and I don't like cranberry juice. And a friend of mine recommended this to me, which you thought was a great idea, Astrid, was get the cranberry tablets instead of the cranberry juice. So I did that, and with Jin Shin Jyutsu and those tablets, the next day it was 50% done, and the next day was almost completely cured, like gone. And it was really interesting. So when people are healing themselves, I really want to encourage people to use everything at their disposal, every knowledge and understanding. You know, I've got a huge repertoire of health and nutrition things because I was such a sick kid. If you go back to some of the YouTube videos I've had, I talk about, you know, a lot of my illnesses and sicknesses and problems that I've had along the way, which are massive, and quite good stories, really, if you really want to understand the difference between sick and how you get healed. I had the x-ray. I had the proof that absolutely nothing was chipped or broken and everything. And that's the reason I went to them. I wasn't going to take anything they were going to give me. It was not on my agenda. It wasn't my interest. My interest was to get that information that they could give me that I can't get for myself, which is a picture of the inside of my foot. And I got it. And that's all I wanted. End of story. Game over.
Yeah.
I looked at it from every angle on that screen and upside down and left and right, and it was absolutely perfect. Because this has been bothering for me for a while because I've had a bit of pain in that toe before. So I just wanted to know if it was an old break or injury or anything, and there was nothing there, absolutely nothing. So that gave me the peace of mind that this was something not physical or not bone-related, but it was relating more to something else. And then I started thinking in terms of some kind of virus or something that was aggravating that joint. And then I was thinking of fever or something going on in my body, and then urinary tract infection came to mind, which was interesting. And after that, I managed to get to the solution so quick. You know, I never thought I was going to get that amount of pain gone in that amount of time. It was 2 days and 100% gone. And it was just blew me away, you know, even though I'm used to having quick healings, especially with all the knowledge I've got, or Jin Shin specifically, has helped me more than anything else. And I met a person the other day who's an incredible healer and has done incredibly well, a successful South African lady in America. And she's really on another level. And she now found Jin Shin Jyutsu. And she was saying, oh, my God, this is taking it to a completely another level. This is amazing. This is really incredible. I mean, she's got a huge, very, very lucrative practice in America, and extremely effective. But now she's found Jin Shin, and she's just waxing lyrical, as they say.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Well, you know, one of the things that you say, Louis, is that as you become more aware of your body and its needs, and Jin Shin Jyutsu gives you the ability, you know, to do that, then, you know, you start listening to your body, and then you've got the tools to act on that intuition. And that's really, you know, that's really wonderful, because who could have told you that there might have been something going on with your urinary tract? I mean,
exactly.
if that is an intuition and you listen to it, then you know, things can really clear up, and that is really wonderful. So you deepen as you practice. You know, when you first hold your fingers or whatever, you might not have a deep awareness of what can happen. And as you keep holding, or as you keep doing other exercises, your awareness deepens, and therefore you get to know, help myself. You know, this is what Mary Burmeister used to say. Jin Shin Jyutsu is the art of getting to know, help myself. And it is a study of myself. So I study myself. I learn to get to know myself. And that is a great example of it, even after all these years, Louis, because, you know, it can be a bit hidden. There can be something underlying.
And just to clarify, Mary Burmeister, she isn't the originator, but she's the one who popularized it. She's the one who brought it to the West.
Well, Mary Burmeister, her legacy of self-help, you know, lives on in the hearts and hands of very many people around the world. And yes, she was one of Master Jiro Murai's most dedicated students, and she became the foremost teacher of Jin Shin Jyutsu in the West, because she was the one who brought Jin Shin Jyutsu to the West. So so we have Mary to thank for you know, bringing Jin Shin Jyutsu to the West, and here we are.
There we are. That's exciting
Yes.
stuff. You know, as Louis was asking, his first in that series of questions that he asked, followed by the terrific story that he told about, you know, how he healed that toe so quickly. It occurred to me, first of all, Louis and I are always on the same track when it comes to what we're going to talk about. So he started talking about resistance. I'm thinking, well, that's the question I was going to ask him. but I just wanted to follow up on that and say, you know, it's really interesting how these things, they all work better together. I mean, Abraham Hicks teaches us about how we're going to focus our thoughts. And when we focus our thoughts, we generate better momentums in the direction of things that we prefer and things that we like. And then we combine that with something like a Jin Shin Jyutsu, which is about getting the flow going. And the two dovetail. And there are other modalities as well that dovetail. And the more that we're applying these in our lives, it's becoming very apparent to me, the more that we apply these things in our lives and do them together, they kind of have a multiplying effect. Yeah, have you found that with your practice, Astrid?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, being an aromatherapist and a holistic aromatherapist, you know, I've studied many other modalities as well, and kind of gently suggesting, you know, well, look at your hydration, look at what you're eating, you know, that you can do, but I think when you are doing these modalities, when you become aware of your body and your mind, your thoughts, then you naturally choose something that is going to feed your body much more optimally than, say, having God knows, you know, every day. So that can change on its own. But sort of giving people a bit of guidance is a really good thing. And, you know, and there are other things that we look at as well. So yeah, it all works together because optimally, you want the body to function optimally. And the body is very, very intelligent and, will respond to all these things. So it just fast tracks everything, you know. The more support you give it in different ways, the more things are going to be fast tracked for the better.
And I find that the more that we focus on this stuff, the more we're really learning about ourselves. I mean, that's ultimately what we're doing. We're learning how we are as beings beyond the physical body. We're learning how our physical body interacts with that. We're learning to kind of reach out and, in a sense, feel all these different connections about ourselves and learn how to integrate them in our understanding. And then as we integrate them, we're learning how to apply them in ways that help us achieve our goals, whatever the goals may be.
Yes, and to live happier, healthier lives as well.
Yeah.
And you know, we need to bring joy back into our lives, not just individually but collectively.
Boy, is that true.
There's so much going on in the world, and of course, you know, what you focus on. But when we focus on our own joy, happiness, and health, then it actually helps our environment on all levels. So when we work on ourselves, we're not just working on ourselves for ourselves. We're working on ourselves for everyone else as well. Now, I don't know.
And that's a big concept. Well, that's a big concept. Well, let's go there for a moment. Talk about that. What do you mean by that? What exactly does that mean to you?
Well, when you look at what we're doing here, we're working with energy, and everything is energy, right? So when we change our energy, we're helping to change energy around us. And when we change energy around us, let's say our interaction with someone else, you change someone else's energy or encourage them or inspire someone to change their energy by whatever you're doing, then that person will go out and it has this ripple effect, doesn't it?
It does.
And the more ripple effect you have, the more it's helping on a much bigger scale than any of us could ever imagine. And, you know, these podcasts are helping that ripple effect as well. So when the internet is also part of this ripple effect. So it's really cool stuff, you know, because
it is.
Energy has no boundaries, and you get to a tipping point where it just, you know, there's another level. And yeah.
Well, when you mentioned the podcast, I mean, I very often here on the podcast, talk about how I have done this podcast from the beginning for me, for my own development, for my own benefit. And if somebody else could get something out of it, great. That was always my philosophy. And that's exactly what has happened, because I have developed tremendously. I've learned a lot. I've learned how to apply a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about how I end up attracting things into my life that I really didn't want in my life. Now it's no longer a mystery. It's like, oh, that was me again. Oh dear. But I learned from it, right? And then I'm also learning how to tap into who I am in my inner being and my being on the non-physical side. And I'm learning how to apply my ability to focus to get stuff to happen that I want to have happen. And I just keep learning and learning and learning. And as I do that, I mean, I have a nice group of roughly 300 to 400 followers who are following right along with me. 85-90% of them are subscribers, and they're talking about, I'm learning the same kinds of things. I'm doing the same kinds of things. So that's that ripple effect you're talking about. Now,
absolutely.
I did intend, yes, I hoped that other people would benefit from it. What I didn't realize is how cool it is when it actually is happening. Because we'll get people on we don't have any live streamers watching us today, but we'll get people on the live stream who are, sharing their questions, they're sharing their difficulties, their challenges, their excitements and so forth. And inevitably, all the rest of us who are listening to it are saying, well, yeah, that's like me. That's exactly what I'm going through. And that's the ripple effect right there. It's so cool.
Yeah. And the connection. Yes. The connection because, and as I said, energy doesn't have any boundaries, and it's just a way that we can all connect. And that is, I organize global events with Jin Shin Jyutsu, and the reason for it sort of came to me because of this thing that energy has no boundaries. I was thinking, how about if we created a rainbow of harmonized energy around the world, starting with New Zealand, going all around the world and ending up in Hawaii,
Wow.
So this was an inspiration I had, from wherever. And it started about 4 years ago now. And every so often I will call on my crowd, or I will sort of maybe I'm calling on this crowd too, but I will call on people around the world to join us to practice some self-help, to harmonize. And what we do is we do it, let's say we say 7:00 in the morning and in the evening, wherever you are. So we follow the time zones, okay? Rather than doing it all together at that time, we follow the time zone. So we're creating like this rainbow of harmony as I see it. And the last time I did it, I sort of brought it together, organized it. There were 44 countries that participated.
Nice.
And lots and lots of people in different parts of the States. So lots of people in different parts of the States and Canada, and it was really, really, it's a really, really cool thing to do. And you can just kind of feel, if you tap into it, you can feel this energy. It's like that focus of what do I want, of well-being, of joy, of just peace, of whatever. It's wonderful.
And Cindy Chavez, who does the Wednesday show with me, we talk about the teachings of Neville Goddard on that show. But one of her favorite phrases is energy entrains unto itself. And that's really what you're talking about here. How energy, basically, when you put out energy by focusing, by paying attention to what it is that you want to pay attention to, and you have some sort of desire, some sort of preference about where you want that to go, other energy follows that. It literally entrains itself. It creates a train of energy that grows bigger and bigger and bigger. That's the momentum that Louis was talking about before he got knocked off. I'm not sure where he went, but hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah, no, it's really, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's exactly, what it's about. It's kind of working together for ourselves, everyone else, humanity, the planet, everything, and it's kind of, as you say, it's creating this momentum of harmonized energy, which is very exciting. And the more people that join, of course, the bigger the tipping point tipping point for what? Well, the tipping point
right.
for, the tipping point for feeling good, having happiness and joy and
living the life of your desires. Yeah, absolutely. All of these things.
Absolutely. And helping other parts of the world that need a bit more help as well, to achieve that. And so I just want to say that my next, if I may, my next global event.
Sure.
Is for the 9th of September, which is Monday. So next Monday.
So a week from today.
Yes, a week from today, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. And I've got a Facebook.
That's London time, by the way, right?
No. So the thing is, you practice 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. your local time.
In your time zone. Oh, I see.
In your time zone. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. So you don't have to think about anything else, just 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. I'm getting so excited, you see. I can
tell.
Words out. So I've got a Facebook group, which is Jin Shin Jyutsu Global Events, and anyone can join if you're interested in the global events. I will be putting up the exercises for the global event, and, thank you for letting me mention that.
Absolutely. That sounds like a lot of fun.
But it would be great. Would be great to have in that mix, because it's
energy entrains into itself. So the more people who are participating, the more good stuff that happens, which is a really, really
that's
cool
right.
thing. Yeah.
That's right.
So we haven't actually spent a lot of time talking about the practice of Jin Shin Jyutsu. I mean, you described earlier on, it's holding various body parts and so forth, but we should probably give a little primer on that for people who might not have caught the first episode some 9 months ago. I mean, it's a lot of episodes to go back through. So let's just give a little bit of a primer here.
Okay, well, let's just review the basics of self-help, which is holding the fingers. I'll just go through that quickly, and then I'll show you how you can place your hands on your body in a very simple way. Okay. So the fingers are really very key to Jin Shin Jyutsu, and all those 144,000 energy functions that I mentioned before travel through the fingers. So each finger helps and harmonizes 14,400 energy functions. So if you hold the thumb, you're harmonizing lots of, in fact, 14,400 energy functions. Same for the index, same for the middle, same for the ring, same for the little finger. So all you do is you wrap your hand around a finger and relax your hands, and then just hold. Okay? So that's the basis of self-help. And if there's any interest in what that does, then you can go to my website, flowsforlife.com, and find out more. But if you want to work on your body, when we work on the body, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous video all those months ago, but when we work on the body, we're working on 26 energy sites called safety energy locks. Now, I won't go into why they're called safety energy locks. Basically, they're there to protect your body, but they are 26 concentrated spheres of energy, which are not points. They're about 3 inches in diameter, and they're like a ball. Okay?
Oh, my.
Yes, so you can't really go wrong. You don't have to look for a specific point to do it right. So the thing to remember is, don't worry about doing it right, just do it.
Apparently, yeah.
So
reach the general area and you're there.
Yeah, exactly. So these 26 energy sites, as I like to describe them, which are called safety energy locks, all have a specific meaning, number, location, and function. So we can work with those to help ourselves on every level, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So if I take as an example energy site number 21, which is on the cheekbones, just under the cheekbones here. And this energy site is really all about clearing mental stress and weight. So clearing the head. And if you are stressed, you can hold these energy sites. So the energy sites are on the left side and mirror images on the right side. Okay, so this is 21. You want to try it, Walt?
Sure, yeah, I'll try it.
No pressure.
And I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is it a general rule of thumb that thumb is perhaps the wrong word here?
No, it's exactly the right word.
Is it a general rule of thumb that the various points to touch are related to where you're actually feeling something, where you're feeling the discomfort?
Yes. That is very much the case. You can work that way, and sometimes it is not the case. So sometimes if we want to open up, say, this area, then we might work with other energy sites to open up that area. That's the case with, say, the waistline. We work with lots of other energy sites to open up the waistline, for instance. But we can also open up the waistline by going to the relevant energy sites. Okay. But this one, if anyone is feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, then you can go here for number 20, or you can go to the forehead. This is why we do these things. Mm-hmm. You naturally go here to energy site number 20 when you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, don't you?
It's exactly. It's almost like God. It's a built-in thing. Like, this is how I'm going to express the fact that I'm so overwhelmed.
Yes. So if you feel overwhelmed, just go to your cheekbones. Mm-hmm. And it really is very calming indeed.
That's really
so just
something.
Spend 5 to 10 minutes here and close your eyes, sit down, close your eyes, put your hands on your cheekbones, and then just feel how things calm down.
So you're almost treating it like a meditative process. You're just trying to bring your attention back to, I am holding my hands here, and not really do a whole lot more than that.
Well, yes and no, because you don't have to try anything. If you just close your eyes, then it'll just happen.
Oh, okay. Because, with meditation, the most common complaint with meditation is, well, I try to meditate, my mind goes off in 1,000 directions. Does that matter here?
Yes. So that's, I'd like to say, if you would like to try and meditate, if you would like to start meditating, then I'm very bad at meditation because I'm the same way. It's too difficult for me. But what happens if I just sit, close my eyes, hold my thumb? Okay, just hold my thumb. Then something very interesting happens. What happens is that your mind just calms down, and then, oh my goodness, everything relaxes, and all of a sudden I'm just feeling myself really in a blissful state, and the meditation comes to me rather than me having to go to the meditation.
Interesting
Does that
concept.
Make sense?
That's very interesting. That's a concept that a lot of people are going to like that, because now they don't have to do all this work. Now, I like it, but it comes to me. That's easier.
I'm very, very lazy, and I really don't like to try and meditate. I like the meditation to come to me. And that's what happens. Whatever you do with Jin Shin Jyutsu, that's what happens. Your brain just slows down and your body relaxes, and then you're just in another zone. You're just in another zone. And when you're in that zone, that's when your body repairs and heals and corrects itself. And by the way, that's when your mind is able to start focusing on something else. That's the point when you can turn on the law of attraction. You can turn on, this is what I want, or change that thought.
And it looks like Louis has been able to eradicate his technical issues that he's dealing with. So
is
Louis,
he back?
He's back.
Oh my goodness. Louis, what happened to you?
Good old Microsoft decided to insist on an update.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I don't use this laptop often, so it gets to that stage.
Reboot.
But I was sure you guys were doing marvelously there, and
well, the point that she was just making is
by the universe.
A double meaning for the word boot there. We just want to avoid the third one. But anyway, what Astrid was just making a great point about was the idea that when you do the Jin Shin Jyutsu, kind of from a meditative perspective, without actually trying to meditate, if you just let the meditation come to you by doing the Jin Shin Jyutsu, it comes to you. You don't have to worry about, your mind going off in 1,000 different directions. You don't have to worry about stuff. And all of a sudden, like she was just saying, everything becomes easier. It becomes easier to focus on what you like. It becomes easier to heal. It becomes easier to do fill in the blank, whatever fill in the blank is.
Yeah, it's absolutely. What Astrid was saying there was that the law of attraction works better, and I wanted to share my thoughts on that. It doesn't necessarily work better because the law of attraction never works incorrectly.
Worse. My law of attraction is working badly today.
Oh, dear.
It's broken today.
It's broken, yes. It's out for repairs.
No, that's not what I meant.
No, we're just teasing.
That's what a lot of people
Elucidate, Louis. Elucidate.
Elucidate.
Is that a word? Yeah, it is a word.
It is.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I will.
Well, it is in America. I mean, we rewrote the entire English language, so I can't really tell whether it is a word in Britain or not. But it is in America.
Oh, that's cool.
You don't know if it's in the Webster or the Oxford. Yeah.
That's right.
But a lot of people say law of attraction is not working when they're not getting what they want, and they say it is working when they're getting what they want. So what Astrid's really pointing to there is, what we want is everything, that's going to make you happy, isn't it? So Abram makes that clear statement, which I never knew before Abram made it. And it's so simply obvious that it blows me away that I didn't see it before. When you want something and you get it, it's the most amazing thing for a human ever.
Mm-hmm.
When you want something and don't get it, it's one of the most unamazing things in the world for a human ever. And it's such a blatantly simple statement, but, I never understood it before. And, the law of attraction, what Jin Shin's does for me is it stills the mind to the point, and this is another thing that Abram says about meditation, which also was very new to me, was it's easier to get a human to still their mind than it is to get them to focus on what they want for a long period.
Mm.
Okay, so Jin Shin Jyutsu tends to really help still that mind. And by stilling the mind, it lowers the resistance, and that you definitely feel with Jin Shin, you get that low resistance.
Yeah, and slows the momentum of what you don't want. Because that's what Abraham say, go to sleep to slow the momentum or stop the momentum. If something's not going your way, just go to sleep or just...
I know. I mean, I had 10 hours sleep last night, Astrid, and I just feel so good this morning. Like uninterrupted, no baby.
Me too, actually. I slept really well. I usually sleep really well, but when I sleep really well, it's so nice.
It's delicious. It really is. You wake
delicious.
up really, really cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's basically what's happening is that when you practice Jin Shin Jyutsu, it slows the momentum. It just gets you into that neutral, no thing place.
Yeah. So this is what I often do to slow the momentum. Left hand on the forehead, right hand at the low back neck. And I really find that just slows my thoughts down.
That's interesting. Just by doing that.
Simple, quick, and easy thing that I've used for years.
Yeah, and this one as well will slow the mental activity.
The digestive, yeah.
And digestive as well.
So there's a couple different combinations there for those because.
There's lots.
We're talking to people on podcasts, so most people can't actually see us. That's why I want to take a moment and say, well, what Louis was doing, he held his hand on his forehead and on the back of his neck, and Astrid is holding her hands on her cheekbones, and both of them are ways of calming the mind.
So left hand on the forehead, right hand at the back of the neck, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Left hand on the forehead, okay.
Yeah, very, very important, the left hand. The other way around, I find it has the opposite effect.
Oh, that's interesting.
But that might not be for everyone, Louis.
Of course not. That's what it is with Jin Shin. There's no one thing fits all,
Exactly.
And I love that about Jin Shin it is very much an art. It's not you do this, you get that. But there are structures of things that come in, and then you can find your own way within them. And that's what Jin Shin did me. It gave me a very solid structure and foundation to find my own truth in it. And it's really quite incredible because it talks about source in Jin Shin Jyutsu a lot, about the source energy. And it's the same word that is used by Abram. And I'm sure they didn't come from each other in any shape or form. They both came from a very different leaning and viewpoint and understanding, but that source energy is where everything comes from.
But there, you've said it. Everything comes from source energy, including Abraham.
Yeah,
that's right.
But
That's
it's
true.
interesting they chose the same words. Different groups often choose different words. And
Sure.
I resonate with the word source from Abram's perspective, and I resonate with the word source from the Jin Shin perspective. And, I started to realize the other day that all my power comes from within inside me, comes from my source energy. And I could use the source energy from the water. I could use the source energy from the air. I can use the source energy from that non-physical part of me. And it doesn't really matter where I want to choose to point my finger to say I'm tapping into it, but it's really irrelevant. It's really the understanding that you always have the source energy. If you're trapped in a cell with nothing, you can still tap into that source energy. There's no place it isn't.
I wonder how many people actively use Jin Shin without having ever heard of Jin Shin. And I mean by that, very often people will adopt a certain pose or they'll just do things with their hands or whatever just because they've always done that. They may never have even heard of Jin Shin Jyutsu. They may not even be into personal development. But I wonder how often that happens.
All the time, Walt. So all the time, if you start watching people, if you know about Jin Shin Jyutsu and Jin Shin Jyutsu self-help positions, and you've done a course or whatever class, and you start observing people, you will find that everyone is at it. Every single person is at it, from babies sucking the thumb to celebrities on talk show hosts. And I love watching talk show hosts because these celebrities come on and they're doing Jin Shin Jyutsu all the time to calm their nerves, to help their voice, to whatever. Or, when I do talks and I see my audience in front of me, invariably there are people in perfect Jin Shin Jyutsu positions.
Wow.
So yes, they're doing it all the time. We're all doing it, but we're not aware. Most people are not aware of what they're doing. So,
well, how nice to know that we've actually mastered it. We've mastered it without realizing that we've mastered it. Well, we've already learned how to apply it in our lives. Now we're just trying to do it a little bit more deliberately.
Well, it is an innate wisdom, you see. So this innate wisdom is something that is part of our human makeup. It's as old as we are, after all. But when we become aware of what we're doing, we can learn how to do more of it to get the results we want, so that we can do more, so we can become aware, so we can be deeper, more aware, and then be healthier, happier, and know ourselves better.
Right.
So guys, the parallel I like drawing in LOA world versus Jin Shin world to exactly what you just said, Astrid, is Abram constantly says conscious co-creation is so much more delicious than unconscious creation, because we're always creating. We can't stop.
Right.
Absolutely.
We're in a physical universe, we're creating.
Yeah. That is amazing. I love it.
The only difference is that consciousness, which Walt picked up just now, is that really consciously doing Jin Shin Jyutsu versus the people that don't know about Jin Shin Jyutsu that are unconsciously doing it. There's just that difference. You can now take those tools and use them more focusedly and clearly and direct them in areas that you want to.
Yes.
Quickly and easily. Where before you were just naturally crossing your arms or holding points, etc. And there's a lot of people who read bodies and say, if you're crossing your arms, you're being defensive. But once you learn energy, you start realizing that you could be doing completely the opposite. You're just peacefully regenerating and strengthening yourself.
Your whole body, your whole system. Yes, absolutely.
It's actually my favorite way to do the podcast. I mean, most of the time, this arm is wrapped around my body in this permanent position. That's just the way I hold myself every single time. And I think it's for the reason you just gave, Louis, just because it just keeps my energy in a strong place.
And the American Indians do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that to hold the 26s, which are over here, which is the all, the everything.
Behind the shoulder.
Yeah, just there. And you grip
it's actually,
that.
Yeah, it's actually the side of the shoulder, Walt.
Oh, okay.
So you're just putting your fingers on the side of the shoulder. Just find a place where it hurts, and that will be the right place.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, Louis, that's interesting about the American Indians, because I thought this was the guy at the bar who was trying to, chat the girl up.
Yeah, well, it could be that too. I mean, you need the confidence sometimes,
It's true. Just watch, Hey,
that's
girl,
right.
how are you? How are you? Remember the guy from Friends? Joey from Friends? How are you? Hello. What did he used to say?
But that also goes to every subject's two subjects. So, when you're doing the crossing the arms thing, you could be defending yourself while you're regenerating. So it depends on which side of that subject you prefer to focus on.
That's true. I mean, ultimately, we are all individuals who do things and think about things a little bit differently. And none of us really totally knows what's going on in the other person's head anyway. So there's a bit of, hubris, I guess, involved in saying, well, if he's holding his arms, he's being defensive. How do you know?
Well, we were saying on the podcast last week, I can't remember. I speak to so many people that I was saying something like, I really don't believe I know my wife. Almost the more I get to know her, the less I seem to know about her.
That's an interesting one.
It is, because, a lot of people like to say, I really know my partner well, and, blah, 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 blah. But I just find there's this greater, maybe it's the discovery of the bigger part of yourself and realizing that they're also that, and knowing how massive that is. And I really don't feel I know her well. I just really don't. And I don't know if that's just a more recent thing, but it's starting to become very clear to me now that I know other people a lot less well. A lot of people say, oh my gosh, Louis, how do you know that my sinuses are this? How do you know this? How do you know that? How do you know the other? And I say, I don't know it. I know that is the general thing that works philosophically, and I can break it down and put it into context for your situation at the moment. And it seems like I understand you, but I really understand life better.
Well, I mean, there is the concept of empathy as well, and when you have that empathy, you can understand a little bit more about how a person is feeling. But what I do find interesting about I think that observation, Louis, is really nice, because I think when you become aware of the depths of your own being, and that is what is happening with another person,
yeah.
They have the depth of that as well. Yes. Then of course you're never going to, because you're constantly learning about yourself, and therefore you're constantly learning about someone else as well.
Exactly.
And it's that awareness again, that awareness is just blown up, and it's like, whoa, we've got this whole other level of learning, getting to know not only ourselves but our dearest and nearest as well.
Yeah. Well, it's the classic example of what wisdom is. I mean, there are a number of cliches about what wisdom truly is, and they all kind of wrap up into the same general thing, which is wisdom is learning more and more, and as you learn more and more, you realize how little you know.
Exactly.
It's a constant, ongoing process of learning. And
yes.
The wisest person is the person who is convinced he hasn't learned anything yet. And he still has so much more to learn. Yes,
exactly. And there is in that knowledge of that awareness, there is that humility, that humility of, my gosh, we are extremely incredible beings. We are. And we've only tapped into a minute percentage of our potential. And that's what I love about Jin Shin Jyutsu, because it allows us to tap more into that potential. And that's what I love about law of attraction, because it allows us to do that as well. And when you combine those two, it really does, can I say kick? You know what?
Yeah, sure you can.
Kick ass. Yeah. I did live in the States for 4 years, so.
Yes, blame it on us. It's all our fault.
Yeah, I love it.
So one thing I realized about seeing my wife as knowing her less in a way is I don't expect her tomorrow, because she's had a habit of always wanting coffee in the morning, to have coffee the next morning. You know, you kind of give her a free slate to be whoever and whatever she wants to be on the next day. And I don't know if that all makes sense, but that's kind of how it works. You don't box people anymore. You kind of know that they're so much bigger, and you just focus on that aspect, and you allow them to expand.
Well, for me, I know with my wife, I am learning regularly, repeatedly, to just allow her to be who she is. And trust that to the degree that I can do that, and I'm not always good at that. Sometimes I want her to go a certain direction. My God, she's got to go that way. But when I can let go of that and just let her be who she is, and just appreciate anything that I see that I like, that I see an improvement, or I see something that I really love about her, or whatever, just appreciate. Then she starts doing things like, I mean, literally just in the last couple of days. Yesterday, I think it was, she came to me, and she's been dealing with a medical issue for the last couple of years that got diagnosed last winter. And that medical issue is still prevalent, still there, but it's decreasing. And she came to me yesterday and said, I haven't had this much energy in years.
Oh, wonderful.
I haven't had this much energy in years. I feel like my old self again.
It changes your life completely when you get that energy back. Wow.
Yeah. And it reinforces for me how important it is to just trust. It's not up to me to fix her. It's not up to me to solve her issues. My role in the relationship, similar to her role with me in the relationship, is just to be there for her.
Yeah.
And to the degree that I can do that, that's the degree that I give her the most possible support, just by being there for her. I don't have to do anything else. She doesn't have to be anything else. Just
Absolutely
there for her. That's it.
Nice. Very nice.
Now everybody wants to marry you, Walt. That's
Yes.
My wife would say, sorry, he's taken.
Yes. No, that's a really nice point. And it makes it, when you work on yourself with Jin Shin Jyutsu or with law of attraction or both, then it makes it easier to be that way.
Yeah.
Because of that awareness again. It's that awareness of, wait a minute, why am I feeling the way I am? And then, what do I focus on? Or do I hold my middle finger, or do I hold my index finger, or whatever? And then you harmonize the energy.
I am aware of the fact that we have about a minute and a half left, so I want to start consolidating. I know. Well, you know what it was. Louis lost connection, and so that kind of it destroyed the time-space continuum as far as we were concerned. That's what it was.
Oh, that's so funny.
But seriously, before we go, I want to make sure you tell people more about how they can get some of this information about, well, how do I learn more about Jin Shin, and how do I learn to apply it more? Because you have a whole website that's just devoted to it. You have other resources as well. Tell people about some of this.
Okay, well, my website is flowsforlife.com, and there I really simplify things. I mean, to the point where you don't have to know anything about it, and it's just an introductory way to get started. So there's lots of exercises for lots of different issues, but just a simple way to get started. So check it out, and hopefully it'll help.
And you also mentioned the Facebook group that you use to help people around the world. Talk about that one too.
So the global event, the next global event where we're going to create this rainbow of harmonized energy around the world is going to take place on the 9th of September, which is next Monday. And so you practice an exercise that I'm going to put on the Facebook group called Jin Shin Jyutsu Global Events, and you can join. It's it's for everyone. And I'll put up the exercise that we're going to practice this week. I'm going to put it up this week or today, tomorrow, something like that. Okay?
Excellent.
So hope to see you there.
I'll put links for both in both the YouTube and on the podcast description so that people can find it. But thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate your return visit. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, it's been wonderful. Thank you. Lovely to talk to you guys again.
And Louis, I'm going to give you the last word. What's the last takeaway before we sign off for the day?
Hold your fingers. Make it easy for Jin Shin Jyutsu. So holding your thumb or your other one, doesn't really matter which one. It helps relieve worry, stress, tension, can help with colds and all the rest of it. So do that and seize the day and have some fun.
There you go. All right. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you to our podcast listeners as well. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.